Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to present Pacific Nickel Mines Limited. We're advancing two projects in the Solomon Islands, both are laterite nickel projects, and we're bringing them forward through to production over the next sort of 9 months and over the next couple of years. Just to start off with, just so people are familiar where the Solomon Islands is, it's just east of PNG, and it's about a 3-hour flight from Brisbane through to Honiara, the capital in Guadalcanal. And then to get to our projects on Isabel Island takes about 3 hours by boat. So effectively, if we get the timing right, we can be into the project sites in a day from Australia. Our main and first project is the Colosori Project, which we own 80%. The other 20% is owned by the local landowners, and I'll get on to why we've done that approach. Importantly for the company, a major milestone was achieving a mining lease last month, and that's given us a clear pathway now to understand the timing to get into production, which we expect middle of next year, given the process we've been through. At the moment, we've got a JORC resource of 6 million tonnes at 1.5% nickel for that project. That gives us roughly about a 5 or 6 year mine life. And then we've got plenty of exploration potential to increase that. The importance of the 1.5% nickel is that that's an attractive product for the end users, which are RKF plants in China. And so that's where that product will go. So when we're talking about resources, we always talk about a 1.5% at least product. We did a scoping study at the end of last year, and with that we came through with a production rate of 1.3 million tonnes that was optimised at the 1.5% nickel. Importantly, it's a low capex kind of project. This is direct ship ore, which is basically dig it up, stockpile it, send it down to a wharf, barge it out to a ship, and I'll go through that process and show how in this particular our first project, it's quite a simple operation. The economics from that scoping study were a low capex, $20 million, but more importantly, the operating margins on these kind of projects are about $15 to $20 a tonne. So if we're producing 1.3 million tonnes per annum and we've got a margin of 15 to 20, we're generating cash flows of the order of 20 million plus US each year just from the first project. Bearing that in mind, we went through a process to work out who was going to finance this project. Early this year, we were inundated with quite a lot of the global trading companies who thought this looked like a good project and a good jurisdiction for them to get the trading rights to. After a bit of a beauty parade, we ended up with Glencore, and they came up with an offer for the offtake and a financing facility of $22 million. That's a combination of $17 million as a project finance and a $5 million overrun facility if we need it. So that was the first building block that we needed to get this project going. The second one was this operation is really about mining, and that's where the critical is. You've got to get the mining costs correct, and then you can generate those margins. So in that end, and the most logical person to do this or group to do this is a group out of PNG. So we've had discussions with a number of parties out of PNG, and we've started an early contractor involvement with HBS, and they're one of the major mining and construction companies in PNG. So there's the second building block. So if we can deliver Glencore and HBS to the party, we're well on our way to developing this project. The second project is to Javo. It's got a similar size resource, 7 million tonnes at 1.5, and it's going to be really basically a cut and paste of the Colosori project going forward, and we're hoping to sort of bring that online a year later than Colosori. Just a snapshot of the company, just bearing in mind those cash flows that we can generate out of the projects. We've only got a market cap of $25 million. We started a couple of years ago, share price was 3 cents, it's now 9 cents, we've been a bit higher, but we've certainly generated some value over the last couple of years, and if we can go through the next milestones of getting our financing sorted out with Glencore and then going into production next year, we certainly expect a re-rating of the company. Also, when we bring the second project on, we expect it even to go further. So that's sort of the key takeaways from us, but it's been a bit of a journey being in the Solomon Islands for the last couple of years, given a lot of the reports and the political aspects that have happened with us, but we've managed to survive all that, and we've gone through and we're looking positively to go forward. Operating in the Solomon Islands is, obviously a key to all this. And for us, the main issue was to get the landowners on side. So what we did was, in these projects, we've given them a 20% project carried interest. We've also given them shares in the company, so they've got a real vested interest in developing these projects. When you've got the local landowners in alongside you, then it means you get your provincial governments on side, and then your national government sort of follows through. So, and obviously the national government, this is a poor country, they're keen to get foreign investment in, and so they're actively promoting us to get these projects up as running as quickly as possible. Importantly, we've also got a local team of Solomon Islanders. Over the last 2 years, we've done exploration using the Solomon Islanders themselves. We've done environmental assessments, geotech work, and we've done test pits with a local contractor. So, that's part of the process of working, is that we're generating employment in the country and using the locals to do that. And the proof in the pudding is that we've been able to generate a mining lease last month after starting this only sort of 2 years ago. Part of this, and also part of delivering a project, is the management. And the major of the team have had experience in Southeast Asia, and as Peter said, I've worked in Indonesia on a copper project in a remote island in Indonesia, so similar kind of aspects. This is all about logistics and getting projects up and running in a remote remote area. Also, we've got Rob Thompson on the board, and he's the technical director, and Rob's been involved in developing 9 projects in Southeast Asia, so quite well credentialed to help us bring this one online. ESG is obviously important in the Solomons. We've demonstrated that already by using the local workforce, but also we've got a social, imperative to make this all work for the landowners and the country, essentially. Typical DSO material, it's a laterite, it's weathered, it's exactly the same as the stuff in Indonesia and the Philippines. It's a straightforward mining kind of operation, except that this material is wet. It's got a moisture content of about 35%. So that's why you need to have the right mining contractor in there to do the project. We're only mining down to about 10 metres, so it's not deep, but it's just a continual operation. As I said, the grades in excess of 1.5% are attractive for the Chinese end users, the RKF plants in China, and to produce the nickel pig iron for the stainless steel producers. The Solomons really became attractive because the Indonesians stopped exporting DSO material, and so most of the material now comes out of the Philippines. But good for us, their grade is now below 1.5% is what they're delivering out of the Philippines for most of it. So the Solomon Islands is certainly a new jurisdiction to provide feedstock for the Chinese, and they're looking for new supply from different jurisdictions, obviously. And Glencore came on board understanding that strategy as well. The resource, as I said, 6 million tonnes at 1.5% nickel. We drilled about 200 holes with the local workforce last year. We increased the measured and indicated category by 27%. Half the resource is basically a reserve. It's in the measured and indicated category, and it was a high conversion of what we had inferred previously into measured and into indicated. So we're pretty confident that the remaining inferred will come into the reserve. So we're doing our mine planning on that 6 million tonnes at the moment. And then we've got extensions to the resource of a couple of million tonnes at the similar sort of grade. So obviously with those margins and those cash flows, we want to generate as much as we can. So adding another couple of years to the back end of this project just gives it much more value. As I said, pretty simple operation. Colosori was the first project. It's blessed by having high grade in the initial mining area. It's actually in the 1.6 and 1.7%, so it's the obvious place to start mining. We then stockpile it up on the hill there so that we get sun and wind onto the stockpiles to reduce that water moisture content as much as we can, down to 35%, so that it's more attractive to ship. So we just truck it down at basically a kilometre using 20-tonne trucks down to the wharf, and then from there we barge it with sort of 5,000-tonne barges out a kilometre to a ship, an ocean-going bulk cargo vessel, 50 to 60,000 tonnes, and we're probably going to do two and a half ships a month to generate that 1.3 million tonnes per annum. Importantly for us, Glencore take that product at the ship, so they send the ships, and we just have to provide the ore to them. So that's where the sort of the cut-off is for us at this stage. We've been, as I said, operating successfully on the ground. We've used the locals for exploration, the environmental, the geotech, and so that's the approach you need to do to make sure that you can operate successfully in the Solomon Islands. And we've got local management in Toom who deal with all the issues around the Solomon Islands as well. So we've been very active in the last couple of years when the country has actually been in lockdown. So we've done, what we consider a reasonable job, since none of us have been able to get into the country. I was in there for about 4 or 5 months last year on a special permit, but besides that, we haven't been able to get any consultants or any other staff into the country. The borders only opened up in July this year, so now we're going gangbusters to finish off that DFS, because we needed all the consultants to be able to visit the country and to complete their work. We did a nickel study as part of when we were discussing with the traders earlier this year, and we got a group out of Adelaide called CM Group, and they went in and gave us sort of what this market was all about, coming out from the Solomons into China. The obvious thing was, you need to develop a product that's at least 1.5% nickel. The material that we've got is highly sought after. It's low phos and low sulphur, which is great for the nickel pig iron. So it's ticked all the boxes, and we've had no problems with any of the traders about the product that we're offering. And as I said previously, the benefit of the Colosori project is that we've got potentially 1.6 and maybe even 1.7 in the first couple of years for this project. Javo is our second project. As I said, it's going to be a similar style thing to Colosori. We'll bring that online probably 12 months later, and it's just a replicator of the approach we've taken with Colosori. This project was owned by Sumitomo, who did the original drilling. We just have completed 26 holes in this and just confirmed the resource, and so that's ready to go. And obviously, being in the Solomons, you just want to go one after the one next. You don't want to do 2 projects at one time. So we're just doing the Colosori first and then get into Javo. There's a nickel laterite belt basically between the 2 projects. We've got the bookends of the field. Sumitomo did a fair bit of scout drilling between the 2, so we know there's nickel there. But there's a whole hodgepodge of PLs between them that are owned by all disparate groups. And so trying to pull them all together is going to take some time. And also you're dealing with a whole lot of landowners in there at the same time. The good news for us at Colosori, we've only got 2 landowner groups that we have to deal with, and we've done that successfully. And at Javo, we've only got the 1 landowner group, so that just makes it a lot less complicated. Some of those PLs, you might have 8 or 9 different landowner groups to deal with. So, not only have we got probably the best 2 projects in the Solomons, but we've also probably got the easiest to start off with. Just the development time frame and the development time frame that we've got going forward. The key milestones for us going forward are to complete the financing with Glencore in the next month, and that's subject to a site visit they're going to have to do. They're going to do in November. We've got to finish up the DFS. It's pretty much in line with the scoping study, but it's just got a bit more rigour to it. But the numbers we talk about in our scoping study are pretty much the same as what they're going to be in the DFS. So once we've got those 2 bedded, then we're going into developing the Colosori project. And the 2 key things that you'd need to do for one of these projects is build the wharf first and get the haul road. Once you've got those 2 in place, then you can start mining and start shipping. It's that simple. So the keys for us for the rest of this year are getting that wharf built and getting the haul road up. And then obviously next year we're going to follow through with the Javo to do the same process we've done with Colosori in the last year, which is get the development consent and get the mining lease approved. And as I said, it's going to be a cookie cutter style. So hopefully we get one right, we'll get the second one right. And just to sort of cap off on the investment highlights of where the company's going, we've got 20% of a project with a mining lease, and it's project ready to start production, assuming we get the milestones we talked about to go into production next year. And then we've got a cookie cutter approach for the next project to Javo. And the attractiveness, as I said, is the cash flows. If we can get these milestones and if we can meet these milestones, then we're looking at those margins around $20 a tonne. So certainly, it's worth chasing, and then that's what you need to do in a jurisdiction like the Solomons. You've got to have that risk-return profile, and that's what we've certainly generated. So if we can get there, we'll certainly do quite well. Then the main thing is aligning ourselves with the landowners, which we've done through the 20% carried interests, and also equities in the company. And we've got Glencore there alongside us as the project financier. So in terms of growth, we've got exploration potential, and then we've got the development of 2 projects. So there's certainly a lot of value to be achieved through the company in the next 9 months to 18 months. And to do this, you can't do this without a management team that has worked and done this previously. And as I said, we've got some guys on the ground, and we've got guys in the company who have done this, been there, done that before. So we're hoping we can do it again. Thank you.